be left alone in Walmart.
All right, yeah, we're recording. It's we have new lovely guests here. We have Jeff, we have Kenny. You're representing. No, we had Americans already, but I always start with, what is your 30-second elevator pitch of who you are?
Amazing.
Jeff.
Kenny, go.
Kenny.
Oh, man.
You said Jeff.
Copy Jeff. I help empower people to reach their full potential, and my language is fitness and gyms.
Mm.
Oh, that's
Wow,
good.
thanks,
Wow.
Kenny. To follow up that. It all started when I was born. Or actually started when my mom met my dad. Now I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mentor of entrepreneurs, mostly gym businesses. I've had my own business for over 10 years. I've owned multiple gyms. I've bought and sold gyms. I've brokered gyms. And I've mentored other gym owners for the past 3 years. And usually, at any given point, I'm mentoring close to about 30 plus or minus gyms at a time in a month.
So, and you're a famous TED speaker.
So, yeah, two of those 3 words is correct. So, I do have a TEDx talk. It is, selfish plug here. It's called Act Outside the Box.
Yeah.
And I basically wanted to speak on what I was passionate about, and it was CrossFit, and there was no CrossFit in TED or TEDx environment, and so I quickly learned that TEDx maybe is not a big fan of trademarked terms, but we did fit it in there, and we did get it. It is live on the YouTubes. So,
Yeah. And have you gotten any reaction from that, or?
Yeah, there's I wasn't sure what to expect, but there was a lot of sharing among CrossFit affiliates. CrossFit main site shared it, put it out in their email of the day. So a lot of CrossFit gyms had shared it, put it in their email lists and Instagrams. I'd gotten some contact from other affiliate owners. I've just seen it pop up here and there, and I know that if you search my name now, it's more me than the other Jeff Jucha on the planet who has a tattoo shop. I finally beat him. I'm number 1 on the Googles.
Jeff.
Yeah, but he owes me a tattoo now since I'm the more famous Jeff Jucha. So I think we've agreed to it. So I'm gonna.
You both of us, maybe all of us, we're the least tattooed CrossFitters, I guess. I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually
That's my
made
trademark.
this. There's a rule. We made a rule here at Coaches Congress that you're not really serious about CrossFit as an athlete unless you have like a neck tattoo now or something like that.
That's how I know when I started. It was when I started, all you had to have was a tattoo, and now you have to have a neck tattoo to be a real serious CrossFitter.
Having a full sleeve means you're a rookie at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kenny, what brought you into the fitness world?
Fitness, like in general, or coaching, or either. So for me, fitness was an escape. It was like during my teenage years, it was confusing and strange and lonely, and fitness was something that I could control and something that I was successful at, and that was nice. You'd see the work and you'd see the success, and it was also like an outlet for the range of teenage emotions that I was going through when I got into it, which was like 15, 16 years old. So fit.
And then you slowly just got into coaching and opening up a gym, or not slowly, but as far as like the coaching thing, it was roughly, I think a lot of us, people start asking us what to do in the gym, and that's like our first foray. And then I got really into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I started coaching in that. Like I got pretty good at that and spent a lot of time on the mats doing that and started coaching in that avenue. And then I found CrossFit and then took all of that experience. And I was actually one of the guys that everybody hates, and went and got a level 1 and started a gym. Like went back and said, let's do this gym thing. And that's how it was. And so. Okay, so you're both you both got
caught in the spell, so to say. But we're fast forwarding, I would say, a couple of months, years. And today, you both gave speeches on has to do with HR, right? And employing people, or you gave it yesterday about like hiring, how to make a living as a coach and so on. And I guess we will try to dive into that a bit. What was your biggest hiring mistake when you if you can recall?
Man, I can tell you my worst employee. His name is Jeff Jucha. Biggest hiring mistake, I would say, not writing out what I wanted new staff to experience before I hired them. And I think a lot of us do this as business owners. We in the States we say bootstrap something, which is like you don't get investor capital, or you don't really have a defined process. You're just kind of like, I'll figure it out. And so I'm very much that type of personality. I'll sign on and I'll figure it out later. And that gave me a lot of mistakes, but all mistakes are learning opportunities. And over time, as I look back, in the moment I felt, I was like, man, I'm so dumb. But looking back, I was, documenting in my brain of what not to do each time I did that. And eventually talked to some smarter people like, why don't you write that down? And I was like, what a thought. So I think not having a vision in my head that I put down into a plan of what should staff experience when they work for me. And I say all that to sum it up and say, we make good places to work out, but we rarely put a lot of thought into making a great place to come work and show up and do work that you're proud of. So I'm like, what's it like to work for me is a question I think every gym owner should ask before making the hire, if you want to learn from my mistakes. So I'd say that would be it right there.
So we talked on this magnificent podcast together with Eric Blomberg, the CEO at Lyco, about his speech was about leading with kindness, and you were talking about looking for knowing your values, right? And you had the audience do these kind of small you asked them a couple of questions, like write down your values basically, and if you don't know which they are, like how would you like to be treated, what kind of place would you like to work with, what would be required to be there, right? I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but basically coming down to what are your values for your business, right? And if you know your values, then it starts to become easier to be in that sense. Like if we look at Eric, a kind boss, because now you can also say no to stuff that you don't agree with. And where I wanted to go with this is that how long did it take for you to kind of find out your values for your box?
I'm still working on it. No, so
that's a good point, because are we finished with
Yeah.
that?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe when you exit, you're probably done. But as long as you're there and improving your process, you're probably going to keep at least refining and putting together better definitions. So as far as like figuring out my own values for the gym, I would say probably around like 2019, I felt the most. I probably reached not like a peak of confidence in my values, but a place where I kind of hit more of a stride with like not struggling to figure out what I'm about. So that was, it's almost 7 years of kind of like thinking I know what's going on, and I think it's easier to look. I think it's more accurate for you to look back at the things you've done and the things that are important to you, and then say what your values are. Than it is to say, here's what I'm about. I'm like, bro, if you really got to say it, is it true?
Is it really?
So, yeah, look back at I would look backwards and say, okay, well, these things were obviously important to me. And, there's lots of ways to kind of figure out, values. But what I would say to help speed anyone up on that process, so you don't take 7 years like me, is get rid of this idea of, like, what are my company's values? I don't think that's a appropriate way to start if you're beginning this conversation, because you essentially are your business, or your other owners or shareholders, or the values there personally show up in the business, because the business is just an organization of people. So it's the people that matter, and what the people value are the values. And then so you're like, okay, well, these are the things that, like, have been really important in my life that I don't feel good when I don't have, and that I feel really good when I do have. And I can go to sleep real easy with. And then you come up with, okay, what are the things I'm not okay with, and the things that, like, immediately are off-putting to me that I wouldn't stick around for, and, like, I won't stand up for. And the complete opposites are probably values you didn't know you had. And at the very least, they support the values that you do know you have. So, start with, like, 3 things that are important to you. Pick maybe 3 things that really turn you off. And what are the complete opposites? Dramatic people are probably professional. Okay, well, that's one you maybe didn't know you had. And from there, you've got, 6, 5 to 6 values, and half of them you may not have known, that much about yourself. But, I'd kind of look back at, like, what are the things I've really, loved and can remember. Yeah.
I think that is also very refreshing to hear, because I'm quite new in the business. I opened up my gym for 2018, and 2 years was COVID, so I almost don't count these years. And I've been working with Tuber now since August, and I'm thinking a lot about the values the whole time. I've also been writing it down, but as I'm learning in this process for every month, I don't want to change everything, but I realize the more experience I get, the more secure I get about something of this value, and then you maybe want to change it. And I think that is also important for, like, new people that are coming in, that you don't have to know everything from the beginning what your values are. Like you're saying, that something gets more important and something is like, okay, no, that is not so important, and maybe go more in this way.
And they change.
Yeah. I
used to need to win, and now I, like, need someone else to show up and do it, so I can stay home and sleep in a little bit sometimes. So
and Kenny, when you saw Jeff yesterday, what were your thoughts of, like, did you have that already, or was it refreshing for you with, like, I already have this. Boom. The writing is on the wall.
That's a good, like, written down. I don't. Like, those exercises were valuable for me too. We're more by feel and kind of that, like, who do you like to be around? I would pull my coaches, like, who we hire a lot from within, and either members or coaches existing. And so we talk a lot about, like, who do we like to be around? Like, in just more generic questions of, like, who would you want to come over to your house for dinner? Like, which is kind of a weird, but it's just kind of more off the cuff than specific, like Jeff.
Do you do the same exercise as Jeff? Like, hey, Mike, I want you to meet me in the basement. Friday, 9 p.m. I have some rough work.
No, I can't say I do. That's different. That's definitely different. No, we just kind of...
No, but do you have some kind of tests? Because what I'm referring to is, like you said, going through something that is maybe not the most fun together with someone. It gives you kind of a good idea. Can I collaborate with this person?
Yeah, from what you described, it sounds like it's scary.
No, I don't. We don't.
Because it made me reflect on one thing that we kind of were talking about early when we started was like and we did this test like sit in a car with someone for 5 hours straight,
Totally.
or like in a
Be in the airport.
We drive to Seattle, so Seattle's 6 hours. That's actually that is a question I'll ask. It's like, could you sit in the car with them for 6 hours? So
Yeah.
that's funny you say that, but that.
That's a marriage counseling exercise. Can you do this, or can you tandem kayak for 10 minutes and make it?
Yeah.
And I think there's, I mean, there is something to it, like when you can spend time with someone and also, you know, just feel relaxed and not having, I mean, it's very common that if you feel like as a business owner or anything that you have to be some kind of facade when you're, you know, a business owner, because you feel like you don't know exactly where this person is at. It's going to be so hard to be in those like difficult conversations in the future. So yeah, it made me think like, okay, I need to implement maybe some of that. I try from every speech to take at least one idea or two, and from Kenny I also got that. You talked about different phases when hiring staff, and I think one of the most important phases, not to say that the other ones are not, but it sets the groundwork, is the phase one, right? When you're setting up your hire, and basically the preparation of the hire. And you said something about you have some kind of, you have a bit of a library that your coaches has to go through to before starting. Can you explain that a bit, how that is?
Yeah. So one aspect of it is the level method, which, as I explained in the thing, like it's not super helpful for everybody, but it is like you get the context of the tools, and so level methods are tool and what we use for program design, and they provide that for us. And so I'm very fortunate, or level method people are fortunate to be able to provide that for the new coaches and say, hey, go through this training, and that talks a lot about energy systems, and it talks a lot about testing and retesting and working with clients. There's a lot within that, which would be like a certification. So that's part of it, but really specific to our gym. But then what I provide is an outline on, it's two things. One is like running classes, and then two is foundations, and then working with people individually. And so then I'll provide, they're short videos, but there's a one by one by one by one. They have to go through each of those. And for an example, every single foundations class, we do 5 sessions for most people to start, and there's assessments and learning, and then conditioning, and there's a video for each one of those. It says, hey, this is what you should be instructing, this is what you should be focusing on, here's where you might screw it up. And then the next phase of that 30-minute session is also outlined in the video. So they go through, it's a dozen or more little video clips that gives them kind of a fast track to learning how to run foundations, and then a class with the background of the level method stuff.
Yeah, one idea that I got from you from that was I have a certain kind of like onboarding sheet for new coaches that is like, okay, basically a checklist with like, okay, keys, contract, all that stuff, but also kind of, this is the curriculum. I want you to read this book, these amount of like checklists for like how many shadow sessions, intro sessions and stuff. But one thing I took with me was like, that you touched on, is like, we also need to build the coaches. Coaching is not only the thing you do on the floor, but it's also to build, to educate your audience, right? So you talked about social media posts, but I actually see this as this is how we can educate. Like our coaches need to understand that they need to start to educate people before they might even come to the gym, and the current members. So I thought, why can't we just put that into our kind of SOP or in our onboarding sheet that did you post a picture of this week? Did you post a Bright Spot Friday?
Mm-hmm.
And so on in that intro.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is, and it's much easier when you do that groundwork.
Yep.
Day one.
For sure.
Instead of like trying to do that in phase 3.
Yeah. And that's like something I've learned. Every coach I've brought on, the next coach is so much better because you learn where you screw. Like you got to start them right.
Yeah.
The ones that have been around for a long time they may have more bad habits because they didn't get started correctly. So new coaches are usually way better than or not necessarily better, but started on the right foot with good habits.
Yeah.
Earlier.
I mean, the first ones are probably much better because they're just being so good with like adapting to our bullshit.
Yeah, no
Right.
kidding.
So-
Thank you for being so patient with me over the years and watching all my screw ups. Yeah.
But is that something that you've been refining too, Jeff? Now, like the last years, or how's your?
Yeah. So making sure that you are working to have some kind of plan in place for like what's the experience going to be. It doesn't have to be like a big long like for years to work for me. Like here's year 2, 3, 4, 5 or anything like that. Just the first month is a great time to make a good impression, and to not just do it only for a good impression, of course, but you're setting them up for success. And so when we brought on like our latest hire, she's one of our managers. She's client success manager. She does personal training, and she now does group. We actually started her in a client success role, then went to one-on-one, and then went to group. But we lined out like, week 1, you're going to learn about these two or three things with this specific person on staff. Week 2, you're going to learn about these specific things with this person on staff. And, the whole first month, we front-loaded a lot. But yeah, be very clear and set the expectations up front. Just like Kenny's saying, do it early. And I think we have a video course too for coaching. We haven't utilized that for her. But that gives me a good reminder. We should probably give that to her, actually. But, yeah.
You got some for this. Great.
Yeah. I took something away from Kenny's talk. At some point, you've been doing it for so long, you just forget what you have floating out there. You're just like, oh, yeah, forgot about we did that. But, yeah, so just making sure it's in the plan and executing.
Yeah. You mentioned customer success manager. Who's that?
Right. So, we're in the business of coaching. And, if you're coaching someone, you want to make sure that you gather what's important to them up front and have a plan. Say, okay, well, we're going to make these changes. And if you get some of the basics of human psychology, well, people would rather see themselves being successful early and then often. And that doesn't mean it has to be you've lost, if you come in and we want to lose 100 pounds, we're not going to lose it next month. But I can show you this week you lost 2. And that's a big motivating factor. Like there's a nice little serotonin boost right there. And that's good. That's momentum and progress, and you're building on that. And so our client success manager is having what we call 2-brain goal review sessions. At my gym, we call them game plan sessions. But really, it's coaching that's not happening on the floor.
Yeah.
And so we're going to meet 15 minutes, either Zoom or in person, whatever works. And we want to go over, are you totally happy with your progress so far? What can we speed progress up on? If not, how can we really do that? And if we need to make a modification to what we've kind of prescribed to you for your health and exercise and lifestyle, we will. But, any shift we make in someone's program is called an upgrade. It does not mean we charge more. We might downgrade them because it's going to make more sense and help them better. But we want to make sure that we're meeting and coaching them first. And if anyone can hear my belly is rumbling on this microphone, that is, I hope that comes through.
Could be mine too.
Yeah, I've lived off coffee all day. So you want to have, set intervals to meet with them, show them their progress. If they're not seeing the progress they'd like, well, then that's not going to lead to a good place. So get ahead of it and coach them up and make sure you get them to a good place. And so I would recommend, we say at least every 90 days in Two Brain. We actually have those check-ins at 14 days. With it, let's say you come in and you sign up, we do on-ramp and our intro program. You have a 15-minute check-in call 14 days in. You have a in-person check-in with an in-body scan too for objective measurement at 30 days. And then we also have it at 90 days. And then 90 days recurring after. Because those are the places that we looked at and saw, here's where people tend to drop off. Right after the one-on-one to group jump is a big drop-off point. At 30 days, people have kind of like normalized, or they've integrated it, or they haven't integrated fitness well into their lifestyle. That's a drop-off point. And then at 90 days, of course, is just your general standard. It's 3 months long. We should probably figure out what program you want to do next, right? You want to go CrossFit group or one-on-one. So that's what it is, and we make sure that that's on the schedule, and it's a great motivating factor too, because Ricard, you're going to see me in 14 days, so don't ghost your trainer and don't keep pushing your appointments back, and like don't put off tracking your food. Like it's a good motivating factor too.
But it's a good thing you said it very, it was there very at the beginning. It's coaching off the floor, right? And I think that's also a mindset shift that needs to be there. It's not somebody just sending flowers, or so, but it is actually an opportunity to coach people off the floor, and that's where we can do so much difference, right?
Agree.
Do you have a CSM right now, or
Yeah, but she's actually more administrative than what Jeff's is doing.
Yeah.
All my coaches run the goal reviews for us. So our CSM does sales and then sets those appointments for the first 90 days for the coach to perform. So she does more like coordination and administrative tasks than coaching stuff, and our coaches do that. But I mean, that's something that kind of that's going to vary from gym to gym.
It's going to vary to the staff you probably have.
Sure, totally. Yep.
So and this is kind of also comes back to it's like higher for potential in one sense, and then you see you can teach skills and stuff like that, but some things you obviously can distinguish. Okay, this person is so easy to come up with birthday ideas and organization admin skills are great, but has no deeper insight into physiology, and is not really interested. Is super excited about fitness, but doesn't care which joint sits really.
Yeah. So,
is there anything else that you learned here? And this goes to both of you from the speeches here at Coaches Congress until now. Is there anything that you've been like taking a note and putting in your pocket, or?
Everyone is very on time here. Everyone will let you know when you have like 5 and 3 and 1 minute left in the audience. Like, not even people you know. It's like, hey, you got. I think something I liked that was put really well, and I wrote down for me to just kind of digest later, was Eric from Alico, and he said, like the three things that they really, and of course now I'm going to draw a blank, but that what they do is whatever he does and whatever projects they work on at Alico, they are strategic, which is like intentional, like sit down, think about it, plan it out. I'm like, yeah, pretty good one right there. It's probably important. And then he wants to make sure that it's profitable. Like, okay, obviously, like it does need to make money, but that's not so apparent to all of us early on. Like I probably was like most of us, like I coached for free, and I did for a while if I knew how to do arithmetic, and I kind of was. And then like the last one, which is really good, and he said humane, which I think there's a language change there. Like that means sustainability, where we are like, is this gonna like really stress your staff too much? Are there too many projects going on? Can you do it? Can the business afford to do it that long? And like, when will it end? And to test it, and that was a bigger one for me to kind of look at. And I'm like, that's some good stuff. So I just wrote it down to digest. Because at first I was like, how many like trees do they cut down to make a barbell? When he said humane, I was
Yeah.
like, it's not like we're, you know,
Yeah.
putting a kitty in the shelter every time we have a barbell collar. I'm like, how does that work? But yeah, so I think that was my most resonant moment this weekend so far, and we still got another day.
But it kind of comes back to what you said also in the phase 3 of the lifespan of a coach or employee is that, and we see this a lot in the coaching industry, is that we burn out coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And usually it's because, well, things roll on and we want the most and best for the coaches, right? So we just think maybe I'm just going to give them so much to do.
Yeah.
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 But sometimes it's not humane in that sense because,
It's kind of what we do when we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Let's just do more of the same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
And
and I had this discussion also. It's like, stretching out coaches, and it's like the hours and hours are like expanding, and me as a gym owner, I was like, shit, I need to have a bigger facility, and then I talked to Per, like, just raise the prices.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or like
Told me the same.
Or
I
like
I don't have any time, so raise the prices. And
yeah.
All right.
Or
Problem solved.
put them 2 and 2. Oh, yeah, that could save time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just those easy things. I talk to my staff all the time about low hanging fruit, and they're like they're tired of me talking about that. But I'm always like, what's the low hanging fruit here? Like, what could we do that is no effort?
Yeah.
And usually it's so many of those like just easy things that we're not maybe thinking of, and again, probably makes it more profitable, more humane.
Yeah.
Yeah, for everyone.
Sure.
But then
Charge
we also
enough.
then we also come back what Kila said about the simplify, and not too many projects the whole time to focus on one thing. And I guess that's also for the coaches. That's we should not like give them thousands of projects and do all that stuff. So try also maybe to give the coaches and also say to them that simplify. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every CrossFit gym knows this. Like, we have the barbell club, we have the barbell teens club, we have the gymnastics 1, gymnastics 2, we have
Endurance.
the endurance class.
Campfire guitar
Yeah.
lessons,
Yeah.
popcorn making
Yeah.
class.
Breath work.
Disney.
The cross yoga,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
and the CrossFit Light and the CrossFit class. Here,
And the
I
kids.
want you to be a great coach.
Yeah.
Like 7 different programs in one day.